They're perhaps the most hated and feared creatures on Earth. Yet they have that something special, charm, an incredible body, and good teeth. No wonder Hollywood has turned snakes into stars. Coming up, we'll meet cinema's most memorable serpents. From the giant Anaconda that nearly killed 2 stuntmen on Swiss Family Robinson, to the star of the thriller Venom. The deadly black Mamba, which can strike from a distance of 15 feet in less than 1 second. We'll discover the secrets of the reptile wranglers.
Good boy, Johnny, good boy.
And actors who work with these dangerous live performers. And we'll visit the set of Anaconda, where a natural-born killer is brought to life through the science of special effects. So sit back, relax. The cast of this show will go to any length to entertain and embrace you. Welcome to Hollywood Snakes.
I hate snakes, Chuck! I hate them!
Movie Magic presents Hollywood Snakes. The Hollywood premiere. A ritual performed by paparazzi, movie stars, and tonight, a snake. This limbless actor may not be your typical Hollywood celeb, but he does have a long history in the movies.
Once this motion picture sinks its fangs into you, you'll never be the same.
Audiences have always loved to be scared. And filmmakers have obliged by fabricating a horde of horrific characters. But there is one movie monster created by nature that automatically triggers fear from its first moment on the screen.
Watch out!
I think the fear of snakes is innate. Everyone has some fear of snakes. Not just humans, but animals also are terrified of snakes. So I think it's one of the most, if not the most, widespread fear.
What is it about snakes that sends chills down our spine? Is it the way they silently slither over any terrain as they seek their prey? Or is it the needle-sharp fangs of the poisonous snakes dripping with deadly venom? Mythology expert Joseph Campbell wrote, "The serpent gives you that primary sense of shock, of life in its most primal quality. It is a traveling esophagus, going along just eating, eating, eating. Life lives by killing and eating itself. There's no arguing with that animal at all." Certainly Hollywood has no argument with snakes.
Tarzan defied 1,000 deaths for his family.
In fact, it rather enjoys exploiting our fears. And when the goal is to scare the audience in a big way, what better than the world's giant snakes, the bone-crushing pythons and anacondas? Stories of these colossal creatures have blurred the line between fact and fiction. Alexander the Great's soldiers told of snakes in India that had eyes as large as shields and were able to swallow oxen whole. What is known is that anacondas in the Amazon can reach lengths of nearly 40 feet. These enormous snakes feed on large mammals, crocodiles, and occasionally humans. Sounds like a good premise for a movie.
About 2 years ago, a very simple little script came in called Anaconda. And immediately, all of us could see the potential for this, that this could be a terrific, wonderful summer movie for kids.
So a production team and cast headed up by Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube journeyed to Brazil's Amazon rainforest to film Anaconda.
It's about a group of documentary filmmakers who go down to the Amazon and they pick up a river rat. And unbeknownst to them, this particular man is out looking for this large snake, the anaconda.
The river rat, named Cerrone, is played by actor John Voight.
What the hell is this?
Anaconda skin.
Is snakes out there this big?
This skin is 3 or 4 years old. Whatever shed it has grown since then. But something like this has made a meal of our dear captain.
Snakes don't eat people.
Oh, they don't?
Of course, Hollywood snakes do eat humans. And nobody does it better than the stars of this film. A 25-foot-long male anaconda and a 40-foot female, which the filmmakers refer to as the Queen.
The snakes and the general tone of the movie is very, very realistic. It sounds like too fantastic to say we're dealing with a 25 feet or a 40 feet anaconda, but there's chronicles. There's people who have seen snakes as big as this.
Seen them in the Amazon, but never on a movie set. So Anaconda's giant snakes are being brought to life through special effects, integrating computer animation and groundbreaking animatronics.
We're always stepping into a new frontier in some sense. And it's fun to be around at this time, to see all this stuff and to interact with all these other people who make the magic. And if you open up the snake and saw how much science is in the maneuvering of the snake, it's quite awesome.
The robotic creature's spinal column consists of 60 joints or vertebrae, each controlled by its own computer and powered by hydraulic cylinders. A central computer coordinates all the joints, assuring fluidity of movement throughout the snake's body. Anaconda demonstrates just how far special effects have come since 1906, when a serpent slithered onto the screen in the mysterious retort. One of the first applications of stop-motion photography, this snake was animated by pioneering French filmmaker Georges Méliès. Determined to deliver a snake that would convince today's sophisticated audience, Anaconda's filmmakers turned to animatronics expert Walt Conti of Edge Innovations.
Animatronically, it's kind of like the ultimate challenge. If you had to think of any creature in nature that was a challenge to recreate, a snake's got to be it. If you think of other animals that you recreate, they're basically torsos with an arm and maybe a head. The snake basically has like 50 or 60 joints all on top of each other. So the complexity comes from each joint affects what the other joint's doing.
Conti began by studying real anacondas, but the director wanted his snake to be even scarier than nature's.
If you look at a true anaconda, it's actually quite innocent in its look. It has these kind of round, bulgy, puppy dog eyes.
The eyes tend to be rotated up towards the top of the head because they spend so much time in the water. And this allows them a field of vision, up towards the surface. So this head here was really kind of redesigned more along the lines of kind of a viperine structure, which gives it a much more dramatic appearance.
The color patterns of the male anaconda are based on nature, but the queen's reddish coloration, not seen on actual anacondas, was chosen to create a more menacing impression. When it comes to inducing fear, however, Conti knows the crucial factor is replicating the way anacondas attack their victims.
We videotaped a lot of anacondas. How does it move when it's aggressive? So we saw a lot of snakes eating their prey.
A snake, like these big constrictors, they have a strike zone, usually about a third of their body length. And if you were to get in their strike zone, there's no way you could move away fast enough.
After an intensive year of research and development, Edge Innovation's robotic anacondas are ready for the cameras. The filmmakers have returned from the Amazon to shoot the snake scenes at the Los Angeles Arboretum.
The Amazon is very humid. It's inaccessible. So we decided to recreate the environment here to give us access to the computer technology and the hydraulic technology and everything else that needed to make the snake work and work effectively.
A construction crew of 120 has spent 3 months recreating a stretch of the Amazon River. A key job has been the installation of numerous underground pipes called pick points, which link the snake via cables to the hydraulic power source, computers, and puppeteering controls. For this scene, the pick point is set into the riverbed. Also underwater is a mechanical rig that will spin actor Vincent Castellanos when the anaconda is supposed to be coiling around his body.
Rolling. 3, 2, 1, go!
The snake's coils will be added later by the computer animation team at Sony Pictures Imageworks.
It's actually a very, very important scene because it's the very first time you see the snake in the film. And it kind of sets the tone for what the snake is, what the snake can do.
In the movie's climax, Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube come face to face with the terrifying Queen. Wrapped around them are separate coils, which can be puppeteered to appear as if they are constricting.
3, 2, 1, throw!
The anaconda's body motion has been pre-programmed in the computer, using slider bars that set the positions of each vertebra. The moves are then played back on set, with the speed controlled by a simple turn knob. The snake's head movements are puppeteered live during filming.
Get up!
In the end, when technology and artistry combine, a new star is born.
Go!
By applying movie magic to our deep-rooted primal fear, Anaconda has reconfirmed Hollywood's long-standing love affair with nature's most hated creature. When Walt Disney set out to film Swiss Family Robinson in 1960, he was determined to make the movie a milestone in bringing actors and wild animals together on screen. And that was to include a fight sequence between the Robinson brothers and a 22-foot anaconda. Cast as one of the Robinson brothers was 21-year-old James MacArthur, who would later go on to play Dano in the television series Hawaii Five-0.
We had our own zoo, all these animals. They brought in elephants and tigers and hyenas and all these things, and to say nothing of snakes.
The biggest snake was the 250-pound anaconda, which had just been captured in the Amazon and flown over to the Caribbean island of Tobago, where the movie was filmed. Stuntmen Lauren James and Chuck Courtney, as seen in these rare home movies, doubled for actors MacArthur and Tommy Kirk in the snake fight sequence. Wrestling the anaconda would be particularly dangerous because Walt Disney insisted that the snake not be harmed.
So he said, I don't want the teeth pulled on the snake because they have 400 little fish-like teeth. But they don't kill by poison. the teeth give him an anchor, and then they wrap around and crush you. So as long as he didn't have that bite, he couldn't crush all the way.
Since they couldn't remove the anaconda's teeth, it was imperative that they keep it from biting. So James and Courtney switched off holding the snake's head while the other wrestled the body.
The snake would get 2 or 3 coils around me, then 2 or 3 coils around Chuck, and then 2 or 3 coils around the two of us together. Well, we were rendered unconscious 8 times in the 3 weeks we fought it. And they had 19 men standing there that when we'd holler help or we were in trouble, they'd all jump in the water, and it would take them sometimes a half hour to get that thing untwisted.
MacArthur and Kirk, observing the final day of filming with the stuntmen, thought it would be great if they were seen in close-up shots.
So Tommy and I both volunteered to get in with the snake, and we were both young and foolish.
Making sure the anaconda was first well-fed, the filmmakers agreed to try a few shots with the actors. To everyone's surprise, the giant snake had by now grown accustomed to human contact and was relatively docile.
I got in the water and they brought the snake up, and I was very gingerly holding this thing, and then I started going around in the water and thrashing away.
Amazingly, the scene was accomplished without harming any of the performers, human or reptile.
Then they put it in a helicopter. It went back to the Amazon and got about 5 feet off the water and dropped it back in within a quarter mile where it was.
Of course, anacondas aren't the only snakes to have wreaked havoc on the screen. Venomous vipers, rattlesnakes, and cobras have spent their share of time in the limelight. But when it comes to a naturally nasty disposition, no snake can touch the African black mamba. One person who can attest to this is world-renowned snake expert, herpetologist Sherman Minton.
It seems to be a very efficient biter. You don't get many blank bites from black mambas. A friend of mine who was a physician in South Africa for many years said that he saw 7 people bitten by black mambas and they all died.
The black mamba is widely considered the most dangerous snake in the world. It will attack without provocation and can strike from a distance of 15 feet in less than 1 second.
403, take 2. Action!
So when filmmakers embarked on production of the 1982 thriller Venom, which tells the story of a black mamba loose in a house, one wouldn't have expected them to use a real one. Well, they didn't use 1. They used 6.
In retrospect, it was a very stupid thing we did. But unfortunately, nothing looks like the black mamba. And unfortunately, we couldn't build one that would do the things that a live snake could do.
Producer Martin Bregman, whose other films include Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon, knew he would need a skilled snake handler. The production was filming in England, so he went to leading British herpetologist David Ball, who at that time was the head of reptiles at the London Zoo.
When the producers came up to me and asked about this film, Venom, I was quite interested. I'd never heard of black mambas being used in a film, and I thought this would be a first. But there was a bit of apprehension because I'm not too certain how the snake's going to behave, but it sounded very exciting.
The mambas were kept in a sealed vault, to which only Ball had the key. And at all times, an ambulance and medical team armed with anti-venom stood by in case anyone was bitten. But even if a victim were to be injected immediately, the chances of survival were only 50-50.
It was a terrifying, vicious, absolutely uncontrollable creature. I don't know why it's alive, why God put it there.
The snakes did their acting from behind plexiglass sheets, which divided them from the camera, cast, and crew. Ball's methods for handling the snakes were captured in these home movies, the only behind-the-scenes footage shot on Venom.
I had tubes that I could run the snake through the tube with about 2-3 foot of snake out at one end and holding onto the tail at the other end so he couldn't reach me.
The delicate process of tubing a black mamba was demonstrated for our cameras by keepers at reptile gardens in Rapid City, South Dakota, which exhibits the largest collection of reptiles in the world and is one of just a handful of locations where black mambas can be seen. Immobilizing the mamba in a tube not only assured safety, but agitated the snake, producing just the right look for angry close-ups. One of the trickiest things for Ball was removing the mambas from their enclosures when it was time for filming.
So I had some boxes made, and they'd crawl into these boxes. I could take them onto the set, and all I had to do then was remove the base of the box. It could be slid out. Sometimes you were unlucky, it was facing the wrong way, or it didn't do what you want, but eventually, you know, we got what we wanted.
What's this anyway? Another one of your little furry animals?
In the movie, it doesn't take long for the mamba to strike its first victim.
I can't breathe.
Death by mamba is not a pretty sight. Its venom attacks the nervous system, instantly causing shock, profuse sweating, cramps throughout the body, swelling of the lips, and paralysis of the throat.
There's a belief among some of the local peoples where these snakes are found that no matter where the snake bites you, it breaks your neck because your head lolls like your neck's broken. And then ultimately the venom affects respiration.
Just as scary as when you see the snake is when you don't. Venom makes frequent use of point-of-view shots as the mamba slithers through the house and stalks its victims.
The fact was we didn't show the snake that often, and it keeps the tension going. There is one scene in the film which was absolutely terrifying. Oliver Reed, who is a bad guy in this film, was shot and was lying in a cellar. And he realizes that the snake is at the other end of the room, coming towards him. And the snake crawled up his pants leg.
A dummy stood in for Oliver Reed during filming of the close-ups.
Even knowing how it was done, it was terrifying.
All in all, I think it's a great experience. It's the first time MAMs was used on a film, and as far as I know, they've never been used since.
At the end of the movie, Venom's serpentine star is killed. But the filmmakers made sure to end their story on an up note, with the birth of baby black mambas, signaling the healthy future of Hollywood snakes.
There's a big snake in the plane, Chuck! Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie! I hate snakes, Chuck! I hate them! Come on, show a little backbone, will ya?
While their intention may be purely to entertain, snake movies can also benefit the audience on a deeper level.
I think there would be a cathartic value to films like Raiders of the Lost Ark, in that the film brings up the issue of a deep-seated fear. It allows a person to have a reaction to that fear and then to identify with the hero as he works that fear through. So there's a vicarious conquering of one's fear that occurs in such a film.
Hollywood loves to pit its leading characters against snakes, as it did in 1931 with cinema's favorite sleuth, Sherlock Holmes.
Band. The speckled band. Rosal viper, the deadliest snake in India. He would have died within 10 seconds of being bitten.
The Russell's viper, as depicted in the speckled band, is a common venomous snake found in India and nearby countries. It has a highly toxic venom, and it's very dangerous to the local people because they're inclined to run around barefoot at night, and that's when the snakes are out looking for rodents.
Like all Hollywood films featuring snakes, the speckled band took advantage of audiences' pre-existing fear.
Most people are afraid of things that they don't understand. Snakes appear to be sneaky, which they are. They're great hunters. They're stealth. I mean, they could be on top of you before you can hear them and before anything you can do about it. I'm sure that really makes, many people uncomfortable.
And that includes our bravest big screen heroes, like Indiana Jones.
Asps. Very dangerous. You go first.
In Raiders of the Lost Ark, director Steven Spielberg dropped stars Harrison Ford and Karen Allen into the ultimate snake pit.
You get your hands off of me!
Some of those pythons were quite aggressive. And when one of them started coming towards me, I didn't care where we were in the scene. I would just walk right off the set. And then the cobras, it was a whole other thing. The cobras would be transferred into a big plexiglass container so that when we shot and the cobras arch up, what looks like very close proximity, there's actually a sheet of plexiglass between us and the cobras. However, to make it look real, they had to put a lot of other snakes in these boxes. And some of these pythons were not only aggressive, they were just plain stupid. And one of the pythons bit one of the cobras, and that cobra turned around and bit the python, and bang, it was dead in about 2 seconds.
That unplanned event led to a shot not originally in the script. Spielberg had the python put on ice and brought it out 3 days later during filming.
It's really, truly started to decay at this point. And it was just one of the foulest things I have ever come near in my life. And that was this snake that fell on me, and it just slimed me.
With close to 6,000 reptiles on stage at London's Elstree Studios, this gathering of snakes may have been one of the biggest in history.
The one situation where you might conceivably see something vaguely like this would be if the snakes had assembled to hibernate.
The thought of hibernation may have eluded the filmmakers, but it was apparently common knowledge amongst the snakes.
Well, as soon as the studio lights came on, they just laid there without any movement at all. They didn't want to move. So Stephen said, look, we've got to do something about this. And what we did eventually was we had a floor with, I think it was near enough 1,500 artificial snakes, which were all activated from underneath with various little miniature pneumatic air rams. And then we laid the real snakes on top of the artificial snakes, and when we started all the artificial ones up, which basically woke up the real snakes and made them work. So in the end, the effect, we did have a lot of snakes moving.
I think we spent 2 full weeks in that snake pit. I had one bare foot, completely bare legs, and I was in this sort of little dress with no back in it. It was a unique experience.
Take this. Wave it at anything that slithers.
Oh, thank God, it's all blazes slithering. Indy! Ow,
Jesus!
In Hollywood, snakes have almost always been typecast in scary or sinister roles. But occasionally, snakes have been depicted as a creature to befriend, or even save. In 1986, a burning pet store provided the perfect backdrop for another cinematic hero to prove his courage and compassion. In Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Pee-wee Herman was put to an extreme test of empathy when faced with a terrarium full of garter snakes.
Come on! Come on!
The hero is the one who can conquer the deepest fears. The most important qualification that people seem to have for judging whether someone's a hero or not is whether or not they can overcome fear or act in spite of their fear.
And what better way to portray that courage than bringing us face to face with Hollywood snakes? Whether through the eyes of Indy or Pee-wee, we love to encounter serpents on the silver screen. And that's as close as most of us care to get.
I've got 30 years in the field of venom research. The fear that most people have of snakes is based on the same misunderstanding that they have about any other minority group. If they're told that one member is harmful, then they generalize and believe that they're all dangerous. It's so stupid.
But this 1972 horror film did little to allay people's fear. Most of the movie's humans are either bitten, constricted, or themselves turned into snakes. Even the title encouraged heightened phobia.
Don't say it. Hiss it.
The movie's serpent stars included a red-tailed boa, a hog-nosed pit viper, a bull python, and the deadly king cobra.
Long live the king. The most cunning, the most vicious, the most insolent of all God's creatures.
Is unique amongst snake films in the way that some of the reptiles were cast. The filmmakers placed an ad in the Los Angeles Times, inviting the public to bring their pet snakes to an open call at Universal Studios. More than 150 people showed up with their pets, ranging from huge pythons to a 6-inch-long snail-eating snake. One of the most unusual reptiles to get a part was a 2-headed Florida pine snake. This movie was also unusual in that it required extensive handling of the snakes by the lead actors.
I went on the audition and they sort of approached the subject rather delicately. They asked me if I like to work with animals. I said, sure. And once they mentioned snakes, I was horrified.
For one scene, Heather had to hold the head of a 25-foot python.
Okay, 1, 2, 3 up.
Come on, work it.
Okay, got it?
And they put Scotch tape around the mouth of the python, thinking that that would prevent the python from opening its mouth. Well, you know, that broke right away. And I'm holding onto this thing with every bit of strength that I had, and it started going right for my face. And I'm holding onto it, and I just started screaming, "Get this thing away from me!"
Much more dangerous than the python were the film's cobras.
Everybody was nervous the day that the king cobra arrived, and we had a scene where we were supposed to be in the same scene with the cobra, and I just refused. So they had to put a glass partition between myself and the cobra.
You don't want to get bitten by a cobra. These guys have a very, very powerful neurotoxin, and it will knock your socks off.
When it comes to working with highly venomous snakes, Hollywood relies on professional reptile wranglers like Jules Sylvester.
I've caught probably 500 or 600 cobras in my life, and I've seen 2 or 3 people get bitten by cobras, and lights out. That was it. I don't know any survivors from a cobra bite. There have been lots, just not my experience.
Jules, who grew up in Africa and started catching snakes in his young teens, was a natural for the wrangling business.
Now, this is the albino Burmese python. This is the one we used on Dusk Till Dawn with Salma Hayek. And this is my eastern diamondback rattlesnake, and these guys we used on Maverick. My job is to scare the hell out of people. The other part of my job is never to get bitten and be frightened myself.
Jules, in fact, never has been bitten, which is particularly impressive considering he has caught about 10,000 snakes in his life. While he makes it look easy, handling deadly snakes is something that should never be attempted by a non-professional.
To say that I'm not afraid of snakes, you're an idiot. You should be afraid of snakes. They can kill you. It's the fear that keeps you sensible.
To move and position the snakes, Jules uses the basic wrangling tools: long sticks with hooks and tongs, and plastic huts for the snakes to stay in while waiting for the camera to roll.
House, trained. And that's how you train a snake. Okay, watch, here we go.
The starting point for snake wrangling is a thorough understanding of the animal's natural behavior. Snakes can be managed, but not trained.
They're instinctively brilliant. But as far as thinking out things, it's a straight snap to the guts, back to the brain, lunch. That's the sound you hear, you know exactly what it is, even if you've never seen a rattlesnake in your life before.
Jules' most frequently cast snakes are his western diamondback rattlers.
They're the best rattlesnakes. They make really good movie snakes. They're pissed off all the time. Now, it's fairly simple to pick up a rattlesnake, provided you know what you're doing. The hard part is putting a bugger down again. That's where people get bitten. So when you put it down, he's very strong. You just relax. You make sure you have a good hold of that, because he's got a hell of a kick. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Good.
Jules has worked with just about every type of reptile. But there is one snake he and other wranglers prefer to stay away from.
I don't particularly like working with mambas. Let me get this straight, because people will say, mambas, they're so aggressive, they'll bite everything. They're not aggressive. They're highly strung. You touch a mamba, he'll start biting everything. Branches, trees, people, dogs, cats, parrots, and the car. They just, get out of my way, I'm coming through. They're very fast, and their venom is very, very potent. Okay? Like that, can be very dangerous.
The dangers of snake wrangling make it a job that attracts few. But for Jules Sylvester, there's nothing better than working hands-on with nature's most earthbound creatures.
I admire them because they're so perfect. He has no legs, and he survives much better than we can. If he wants a rat, he'll track that rat with his tongue. If a rat climbs a tree, he'll go up the tree. If it goes in the water, he'll go in the water. If it goes down a hole, he'll follow him. And not only just eat him, but his family too. I can't help but admire them.
Your Majesty.
And thanks to Hollywood, we can admire them and be scared to death at the same time. In the United States alone, more than 15 million people have a snake as a pet. It seems that many of these reptiles can get along with humans. Perhaps our fears are unfounded, and snakes deserve another chance.
It feels so sad. Oh. Why such a phobia with snakes? Quite a shame. It's really quite a delightful vertebrate and responsible for getting rid of a lot of vermin.
Of course, Hollywood prefers its snakes to be anything but delightful. In Anaconda, the title character is portrayed as a cunning and purposeful murderer.
Anacondas are a perfect killing machine. They strike, wrap around you, hold you tighter than your true love, and you get the privilege of hearing your bones break before the power of the embrace causes your veins to explode.
The task of depicting the Anaconda's lightning-fast strikes has been assigned to the computer animation team at Sony Pictures Imageworks.
We're basically dealing with a character whose sole purpose in life is to wrap as much of himself around you as he can and squeeze you until you don't move anymore.
Entertainment films are, for the most part, the snakes are shown as more dangerous than they are. You could probably count on your fingers the authentic fatalities from from attacks by anacondas.
While Hollywood's giant snakes may kill in exaggerated quantity, is there lethal quality within the realm of reality? Lou Dodano, nationally recognized expert on large reptiles and owner of Serpent Safari near Madison, Wisconsin, is one of the few who can answer that question based on first-hand knowledge. That's because he was almost killed by a 23-foot python which had just been captured in the wild. A snake similar in size to this current resident of Serpent Safari. It was late at night, January 26, 1997. Lou and his partner Paul Keeler were cleaning the grounds when they noticed a burnt-out light bulb in the new python's enclosure.
In the risk.
Lou cautiously entered and immediately covered the snake's head with a canvas bag to impair her sight and smell, hoping this would keep her calm.
When I was trying to change a bulb, we were both focused a little bit more on this. She peeked her head out, and that's when she grabbed onto my hand. As soon as she did that, I backed up, and the whole sack came off of her, and I got pinned in the corner here. She kept trying to bite me. That's when the first coil came up and over my back and knocked me down. And within a matter of 2 seconds, the 23 feet of her were just wrapped around me. It's pretty hard to describe. I don't think I can describe it. What that feeling of something being around you, completely circled around you and squeezing you from every direction.
Difficult to describe in words, but when seen on the big screen, you can almost feel it. Don't worry, it's just a movie.
It felt like the whole top part of my head and my eyes were gonna just rupture. She did force the air out of me, but what finally, I think, sped up me losing consciousness was her last coil that came up around my nose and my mouth.
When I could not pull him out nor pull the snake off the top, I made the decision that we need reinforcements here, and ran in the other room, dialed 911.
911. Emergency, Serpent Safari, Parkway Mall, person suffocated, emergency.
I happened to have a Marine Corps K-bar fighting knife, and I grabbed that to come back.
And tried to jam into it. It went in about an inch or two, and you really could not slice through. At that point, it came around and bit me on the arm.
Paul, himself injured, kept stabbing the snake and was finally able to free Lou's body and drag it out of the enclosure. He then called 911 again.
What's the problem there? Hands dead, suffocated. I'm trying to give a CPR. Trace the call, come.
By the time the paramedics arrived, they found Lou clinically dead. But en route to the hospital, they were able to restart his heart. Lou fully recovered in just a few weeks and went right back to working with his snakes. The python that attacked him died from the knife wounds. Incredible stories like Lou Dodano's help fuel snake phobia and lend credence to Hollywood's frightening portrayal of serpents.
When one thinks of, how Hollywood portrays snakes, they're relying on people's fear of snakes and horror of snakes. I think people like seeing snake movies because they like to be frightened.
After a century of slithering stars, including Swiss Family Robinson's Bone Crusher, Venom's monstrous Black Mamba, and Anaconda's horrifying Queen, you'd think Hollywood had used up all the scary snake scenarios. But ancient Chinese literature describes the Pa snake, said to have been large enough to swallow an elephant. And then there's the very real spitting cobra, which shoots out a jet of lethal venom, causing instant blindness and agonizing pain. There is something special about these least human of all creatures. And so Hollywood will turn to snakes again and again. And as long as our primal fear exists, we will continue to enjoy the gripping performances of Hollywood snakes.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?